Monroe and Rick Allen, thank you so much for joining me. The Big Love Benefit Concert with the Raven Drum Foundation is this Saturday at Cumbwa Jazz Center in Santa Cruz with Dr. Bruce Lipson giving a lecture. And then, Lauren, you are performing and Mokili Wah are performing. Have I missed anyone?
No, well, Rick will be there with my band.
I'll be there with a box of tissues in hand. No. I always get so emotional. I do.
So, how does that dynamic work with the two of you in a band? I mean, a lot of people say that a band is like a marriage, but you have a marriage and a band.
Well, we kind of do everything together anyway, you know, whether it comes to, you know, the dog or, you know, a daughter or music or art. There's always something we're doing together. So it's just kind of normal for us now. You know, it's actually a blessing to be able to do this and
be creative together
and still remain friends.
Yeah, still remain friends.
Yeah, I mean, that's the shocking part, right? I mean, that's the biggest complaint about bands being like a marriage is that people don't want to spend that much time together, but you guys are doing it all together. You must be a phenomenal team.
We like to think so. Yeah. Yeah, for the most part.
He only gets fired every once in a while.
That was in the early days, though. That was when we were making the first record together, Freedom Sessions, and I was exercising what I call obsessive listening because I wanted it to be right, and I was the producer, and she said, "Isn't that done yet?" You know, and I'd be like, "No, I just need a day or two more to listen to it." Years. She's like, "You've been listening to it for 2 weeks or more. You know, I think you should leave the band." but I got reinstated. Yeah. I got reinstated.
You worked your way back in.
I did.
Well, I'll be honest. I know a drummer from a major Bay Area band who also is somewhat obsessive about the music like that too, and we make fun of him for it as well.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is Lauren's become a producer in her own right now, but not necessarily working with me, but working with the incredible Jim Scott. So, you know, it's really good that she was kind of. Producer was bestowed upon you by Jim more than me, really.
You know, I think when you just give your opinion so much constantly and ask for changes and say, how about we do it this way? And how about then, you know, I think you kind of, you work your way in as producing your own music.
Or you think he just gave up?
Yeah, I just gave up. He's like, you know what? You need to just produce this with me, okay? I'm like, okay. So.
You started out asking a question and ended up being a producer. I feel like that happens a lot.
Probably with you too. Yeah.
So the two of you as a team started the Raven Drum Foundation. How did that come about?
Well, yeah. I mean, we met in 2000, and I was a client actually. Lauren was recommended to me by a mutual friend. And yeah, we met, and then the next day I was having this massage. I was having terrible problems with my shoulder at the time, and we got through that, and then we just stayed in touch, and yeah, that's how we got together. But Raven Drum was really a combination of my experience of trauma, extreme trauma. And then Lauren's experience of being in the healing arts and also having a fair bit of trauma herself. So the combination was fantastic. So that was really the inspiration.
And then bringing the drums and the rhythm into it, because that was, you know, Rick's main form of therapy, so to speak, while, you know, over the years. And then my background in the healing arts and body-mind connection, body-mind therapy and music, it just was a natural fit that we just started doing it together, just as friends. I was teaching him things. He would apply it on the road. And then we decided, you know, we should do this with other people. We started on his tour bus, bringing some kids that had disabilities on there, and working with them, and it was amazing. Anybody that we did it with, they immediately were able to feel a change, and we thought, this is something we could do with everybody, and we all need a little bit of guidance when it comes to our own healing and stress. So we started the foundation in 2001.
Yeah, and Lauren actually started. I think you worked your way into some safe houses, and then at the time we were working with gang kids that were incarcerated.
Yeah.
And they were tough crowds to work with, really, to be trying to be sensitive, to the people that we were working with. But every time we used drumming and intention, it seemed to really help people.
So if you're working with incarcerated minors, they're kind of being re-traumatized on a daily basis if they're still incarcerated. What kind of techniques do you teach them to work against, to try and, I guess, survive in that atmosphere and then therapize?
Yeah, well, I think, that particular population of kids, a lot of these kids, they're 13 or 14 to 16 years of age. And they're, they know the streets. They got their education on the streets, or they had family members that were in gangs. So they were indoctrinated into this way of being in the world through traumatic events. And when you have that as a child, you definitely have intuitive skills, but you're using them in the way to survive. So we basically just kind of pivoted, and this is what we do with veterans as first responders as well. You already have the tools to be able to be a whole person and start healing yourself from some of the wounds. You just have to apply what you already know on the street. Yeah. And so we started taking that sensibility and teaching them. I remember this one kid, we were talking about intuition, and he says, yeah, you know what? The day I got busted, I knew I was going to get arrested. I knew it that day, and I knew not to go down that street, but I did anyway. He's like, I said, okay, so there's proof of your intuition. And we started really working with them on validating their own intuition and how they can keep themselves out of trouble by trusting it, and then giving them more tools around, breathing and grounding and boundaries. And so it was really special. We worked at that particular facility for 3 years, doing a lot of work with the boys.
Yeah, it was actually really cool. Somebody else was there teaching songwriting as well.
Yeah,
remember the guy that was with?
Oh, Max Gale.
Max Gale was teaching there.
Do you remember Max Gale from
MASH?
Was it Matt? No,
no,
MASH?
Not MASH.
It was the other show.
We'll remember. But
the 70s show.
Yeah, it was great.
80s show.
But the point being is, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, like Lauren suggested, when we work with veterans, they're taught how to breathe in a certain way. When they're taking, say, a shot or whatever. So all of these things they already know. So all we're doing is just bringing that up to the surface and trying to use that in a good way.
When did you expand to first responders?
That was more recently.
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah. So 2006, I went to Walter Reed Army Medical Center, and that really affected me. A lot of suffering and a lot of potential. I called Lauren and I said that this is terrible what I'm experiencing, but I think we should refocus our attention on our vets, and that's really when we did that, around about 2006.
First responders 2 years ago.
Yeah,
and we got to talking because we live in California. Our houses are in threat all the time of fire. Our house was saved twice by our neighbor who was a retired fireman. We lost all our neighbors, lost their homes where we were living in Southern California. It was really sad. And then Rick was like, you know what, if it wasn't for a first responder, I probably wouldn't even be here because he was saved. That story is incredible, actually. He was saved by
An
off-duty police officer and a nurse.
Yeah, and they actually ended up falling in love and
Getting married.
and getting married. So
And we invited them to our wedding.
Yeah.
They came to our wedding. It was like, you can't write this, you can't make this stuff
They
up.
just happened to be on site. This is from your car accident?
Well, it was New Year's Eve day, and they were on their way or they were both traveling in separate cars, but they were each going to some sort of celebration for, in readiness for New Year's Eve, and they were behind me. I had the crash, and the two of them responded, and she gathered up my arm that was in the car, and and the two of them, I dare say they really did save my life.
Yeah,
so so I kind of owe it. I don't feel it in that way. I feel as though when we're of service, I feel as though it's a two-way street. It really helps both parties. Do you know what I mean?
And you're still in touch with them, and they're married now?
Yeah.
This is like a movie.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, I don't tell too many people that part of the story because I don't know. That's like a hidden gem. It's beautiful that two people were able to bond over, something so traumatic like that, and having comfort in each other is awesome.
Wow. I mean, it sounds trite, but silver linings from a dark cloud.
I know.
That's incredible.
Miracles happen every day,
We just have to look for them. Look for the helpers, right? That's the Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. No, he's awesome.
My family used to call him Mr. Rogers, the Lauren Whisperer. So they would
Really?
put me in front of that Mr. Rogers, and I was in another world. But I think
generations. Yeah,
absolutely.
So tell me about some of the different events that you hold throughout the years, from drum circles to benefit shows, just to benefit the Raven Drum Foundation, because it sounds to me like the benefits are also therapeutic events. Is that right?
Very, very much so. Going back to the most recent, which was up in Healdsburg.
That was a drum circle.
Yeah. Yes, that was a drum circle, but equally as therapeutic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have two kind of branches of what we do. One is with the Raven Drum Foundation, which we started in 2001, and we bring these drum circles, and those are events. Two different kinds, one for the community and then one also for specific people like firemen, first responders, for veterans,
police.
And then we have our own, we just produce concerts where we invite special people to raise money for these causes. And like the one at Coomba coming up on Saturday, we invited our friend Bruce Lipton, who is an incredible speaker, author of the biology of belief, how our mind affects our physiology and our health and how we create the world around us. And we weave in our stories of empowerment and of healing within the songs. And we give people an experience as an audience, how to have an experience of transforming yourself. And it's really beautiful to be able to see people get in touch with their emotions at a show and look at each other with empathy.
Yeah, in a different way. It's beautiful. Strangers, and then there's something clicks during the show, and then everybody kind of feels like family. It's very special.
Oh, I love that. The physiology of trauma, I think, is real, and anybody who's ever been in a traumatic event knows it when it happens, or at least knows something is happening that's just not right. I remember I was like mugged and kidnapped in the 90s. It was a weird thing. But it happened when I was sitting in a car. And now I can't sit in a car with an open window. I have to I just suddenly start having like the panic attack for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
I think
that's fascinating. I didn't know that you went through that. And that's really classic post-traumatic stress in the body, where the body doesn't know you're in a different place in time. The body thinks it's right there in the same place that you were. So it's giving you signals to run or to flee. It's
fight or flight.
Fight or flight response.
Yeah, that intuition is telling me something's not right from where I'm sitting. It's not a safe position.
Right. Well, that's not exactly it's an intuition,
Yeah.
memory. It's a memory.
Ah, okay.
Fight or flight response. You're having a memory that's not true. So what happens when you have post-traumatic stress, the way to heal it is to go into that neural pathway and start rerouting it, so that when you sit in a car like that, your body is not going to say, I'm in danger. Your body is like, the window's open and I'm hanging out. There's no recollection about that in a way that your body's going to respond. You might remember it and go, I remember that time that happened, but your body's not going to think it's now.
I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways, and we come, for first responders have this situation all the time, and veterans and people who survive car accidents. You get behind the wheel, and they'll be without warning, you'll start to feel that sensation of anxiety, and that's your body just responding on its own because it feels the memory, and it's fascinating how the body works. But once you unlock the formula, there's ways to really get yourself back down to a balanced state, get your brain aligned again, get your body aligned, your nervous system aligned again, so that you can, just put that in the past, that time in the past. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we teach people. We give them the tools on how to do that. And we use the drums to do it too. So it's really a wonderful experience. And we hope that you can come to the next thing that we do.
I hope so, too. I think when we talked off air about you guys doing something in Golden Gate Park, I kind of love that idea, especially now that I know that you're in the Central Coast. You're so close to the Bay Area. What are some places around the Bay that you have gone to that you've enjoyed?
Well,
Golden Gate, that was one of the first places you went when you actually, she used to live up there.
And I love North Beach because I'm Italian. And I love going down there and enjoying the food.
You're Italian?
And I'm from Italian. I'm from Italian.
I would never have guessed.
I'm from Italian. I like being around the people and the food, the pasta.
She's doing the Italy.
Yeah. No, she talks. They all talk like this. There's all salmon going on. There's like hands and things and movement.
Where do you like to go when we're there, when we go down? Besides Oracle Park.
No, I know. No, I actually enjoy going up to. There's a couple of people we know up in Mill Valley, which I like being there. A lot of movement there, because the freeway goes kind of straight through it. So it's not as relaxed as I would like sometimes, but I still enjoy going up there to see friends. And there's a couple of great little restaurants. There's a great little taco place that we go. Remember that? Yeah, that kind of thing.
Don't give it away.
Simple.
Okay. Tell me later, because I like to try those places. So speaking of Oracle Park, Def Leppard, Journey, and the Steve Miller Band are coming to Oracle Park on August 28th. And I did notice that you have some meet and greet packages that you donate to your charity at Raven Drum Foundation. Is there a thought to offering one of those at the Oracle Park show?
I'm not 100% sure. I haven't actually seen, because this is all stuff that we came up with along, when tickets were first talked about being on sale. So,
we're putting that together right now for a really special package. So once we have that together, we'll let you be the first person to know about that. So.
So if people are watching and they wanted to check back, they would go to ravendrumfoundation.org?
Yeah, and if you're interested in a special package, just email us, and we'll make sure we let you know first. So
fabulous. Yeah. How did you end up deciding to go out with Journey this time around instead of Motley Crue?
Well, we'd been on the road for on and off with Motley Crue for about 18 months, and we felt as though we kind of covered pretty much everywhere there was to. We ended up we started off in the States, went off to Europe, did South America, came back to the States, and then Japan and Australia. And it was like we just felt as though we'd been everywhere. We would always want to tour with those guys, but we just felt as though it was time for each of us to move on. Now, we toured with Journey. I forget exactly what year. My memory is terrible.
2018?
I think 2018.
17?
Yeah, 17 or 18.
In the before times, before the pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
right?
it was awesome. I mean, those songs are timeless. And we just thought that it would be great to reach out to them and see if they wanted to do it again. And lo and behold, they did. So, we just feel as though with a band like us, with a band like Journey, and a band like Steve Miller, I mean, you're going to be sitting there in the audience listening to hit songs all night. So we just feel as though that's really a good deal, and I think people are really going to enjoy it.
Well, I can tell you San Francisco is just pleased as punch to have Journey. And of course, the Steve Miller Band practically lived here in the 60s and 70s. So it's almost like two hometown bands and Def Leppard for us.
No, I know. We're going to have to be good that night.
and honestly, and I did bring this, which was my first Def Leppard album. I was in 5th grade, and my favorite thing about this is how on the back it says also available. I almost need my glasses to read this too. Also available in 8-track and cassette.
Yeah, if you can remember those things, kids these days, they don't remember that stuff. Most of them don't even know what CDs are, which is really sad. Everything I learned about the bands that I grew up listening to, it was always sitting there reading the liner notes on the album artwork. Now I'm like this. I'm like the CDs. I'm like I still can't see that. It's too small.
Everything is.
Everything is. Yeah.
I feel like I'm thrilled that vinyl seems to be coming back, because it was a lost art form for a long time, and now kids seem to be embracing it. It's not everybody. A lot of the younger generations are still obsessed with streaming their music, but also the concept of collecting vinyl has come back, and people don't want to collect CDs. They don't want to collect 8-tracks for sure, or cassettes, but records are still somehow that medium that everybody identifies with.
I talked about this with somebody, and they were saying, you take something away for 10 years, and then somehow people want it back. And that's pretty much what happened with vinyl.
And mullets.
Yeah, vinyl and mullet. You get a free mullet with vinyl these
days.
Kids think mullets are cool again, and I'm like, no.
No.
They weren't cool the first time.
No, just wear the wig and then take it off at the end of the night. We see them in the crowd. It's really funny, actually. People come dressed as 80s fans, and they've got like really, really exaggerated months,
You're like, come on, kids. Some stuff from the 80s, we would like to stay there. There's a reason we didn't have cell phone cameras.
No.
Could you imagine?
Oh,
there's still a lot of evidence.
So you just released last weekend the Pyromania 40th Anniversary Edition. And I was wondering if you had any memories from the Pyromania era that would be good to share.
I do have a few memories. They're kind of patchy. And most people that I know, they say, well, if you remember the 80s, you probably weren't there. So I don't remember a great deal. So I was probably there. Yeah. It must be. I must have told you some 80s stories.
Remember
Some
for him.
80s stories. You can still remember things.
Yeah, well, 80 stories for you. I don't know if we could say them.
That's the problem.
That's fair.
We're
I can
usually
respect that.
all the shenanigans that were going on around the Hysteria tour. Me and Joe were actually up on stage, keeping the crowd going. So anything that was going on down there or whatever was nothing to do with me or Joe.
Throw Phil under the bus. So the new version, the anniversary edition contains an unreleased song called "No You Can't Do That," along with some demo versions of the whole album. That song that came up, do you have any recollection of that song? Did you guys rework it? Did you play on it again, or was it just like, oh, here it is, preserved in amber, we're just popping it right on?
What probably happened was it had a working title. And it didn't quite make the record, or Mutt Lange decided that it wasn't necessarily up to standard. And then what happens in a lot of situations is they get renamed. And this is the perfect opportunity. 40 years later, and you've got all this unreleased material surrounding the recording of the record. And all of a sudden, you've got all this bonus material that that a lot of fans they really love it. Even though it's not exactly the perfect standard, but it becomes part of history. So I think it's it's a good deal for everybody.
I heard the alternate version of Photograph, and it was just jarring for me because my brain is so keyed to this version that for the last 4 decades that it was shocking. Have you heard any of the demo versions since they resurfaced during the pandemic, and had any thoughts on them?
I mean, I've heard them, over the years, but I didn't. I haven't heard them in a while. For instance, I did hear a demo version of Rock of Ages, and it sounds so different. I mean, I can hear there are elements that are similar, and I hear the intention and the place savers, and we'll get better sounds, But yeah, it is interesting when it's ingrained in your DNA. And then to hear, another version by the same band, it is a little odd.
I mean, if somebody said, "Hey, let's try this arrangement in the set tonight," wouldn't it just freak you out?
Yeah, well, yeah, because the only way I know how to play them is how we played them for the last 40 years.
That is totally fair. And then last thing I wanted to talk to you about was Record Store Day. In terms of, you guys dropped a double live album, which is kind of baller. The double live album was a thing of the 70s, right? There were all these big famous double live albums in the 70s, and then it kind of carried over into the 80s a little bit, but I feel like it's a lost art now, and I appreciate that you did that.
Well, our even though we're an 80s band, all of our inspiration was really from late 60s all through the 70s. So that to us was normal, and it gave you more material to read. You could actually sit there and find out even more about your favorite band. But yeah, we did a club show toward the beginning of the tour, and then we did another club show toward the end of the tour. And we thought, what a great idea! Just kind of use them like bookends, and let's put both performances on one record. And the only way we could do that was, of course, do a double live.
And is there a record store that you like to frequent? Do you have a favorite record store that you would support?
I used to go to Amoeba, and then there was Tower Records. Remember, we used to go to Tower Records on Sunset.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have disappeared. And you were talking about this, even though vinyl's coming back. a lot of the stores have still fallen by the wayside, which is really sad.
I would love to see us do in stores, just on video, just like this, just a Zoom. Everybody come to the record store and they get to do a Q&A with the band, but the band doesn't have to physically be there. You can just pop up a TV screen and it would be like a live in-store kind of appearance thing.
Good idea.
That is a great. I mean, we all learned how to do this during COVID, so hopefully we're all getting pretty good at Zoom or whatever other platform you use. So I actually think that would be a great idea, for people to come into an in-store and maybe have specific questions that they want to ask, or just to say hi, and it be a live thing. I think that could be really good.
Record stores used to be a place where people met up and hung out. I mean, so many people I know were like, oh yeah, we met at a record store one time. We were both in the same section, kind of thing. That used to be a meet cute in the 80s and 90s, and now
it's true. And actually, I've met quite a few fans that became best friends just by going to a Def Leppard show or meeting a show, and they both love the band. And there are these groups of people that all keep in touch simply because they met either through, the music that they love or the concerts that they love going to. So, the Zoom thing could be really good for that social aspect.
And I can't believe I completely forgot to ask you this, but are you going to be with us on Monsters on the Mountain and the Mountain Show with your art? I know you've been on the Monsters of Rock cruise with us a few times with the artwork, and I can't remember. Are you on the cruise again or the mountain at all?
No. I wanted to take we were kind of busy. We had a lot going on last year, and then this year we really wanted to just focus on being at home. So I've kind of taken a break from it.
That's the thing we all miss about the pandemic, right?
I know, it's true.
I still miss it just a little bit, just for that nice break it was from all of everything. Well, I hope we do see you back on the Monsters of Rock cruise or on the Monsters Mountain Fest, because I know that people really love the art. And I think the art is there without you sometimes, but it was also fun to have you on board as well, especially when you sat in with Tesla.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah, those guys are great. Yeah.
Well, cool. Let me just recap. We have the Big Love Benefit Concert through the Raven Drum Foundation with Dr. Bruce Lipton in lecture, and Lauren and Rick, you will both be performing. Mokiliwa are performing, and it's all at the Kumbwa Jazz Center in Santa Cruz. Tickets are available now on Eventbrite, and hopefully we'll have a Golden Gate Park drum circle to announce sometime soon.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Let's do
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So appreciate your time.
Yeah,
And
No problem. Let's keep in touch, okay?
absolutely. Feel free to have your publicist give you all my info. I would love to hear from you guys again. It's funny. I just can't believe I totally forgot last time. But one of the times you were on the cruise, I make a guitar pick every year that I give out to people on the cruise. And one year I used the Def Leppard logo.
Oh, awesome.
And I gave it to you, and you were like, wow, that's cool. And I was like, thank you for making my cruise.
That's cool.
I'm one of the hosts on the cruise, the person who wakes you up at the overhead and, announces the bands and does Q&As and stuff like that.
I'm recognizing the voice now. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I know your time is valuable, and I so appreciate you carving out 2 bits of it for me. And again, I'm so embarrassed, but I appreciate you so much.
No problem.
I'm glad it worked out.
Oh,